All right, today we're going to deconstruct something that's become a huge deal in the data world, the data vault. It's a really clever approach to data warehousing that's built for the kind of chaos modern businesses deal with every day. So let's jump right in.
But first, before we get into what Data Vault is, we've got to ask a more basic question. Why do we even need it? I mean, what's going on with the traditional data warehousing methods that have served us so well for decades? Why are they starting to, well, crack under the pressure?
You know, the answer is actually pretty simple, but its implications are massive. The very nature of our data has fundamentally changed. It's not just that there's more of it, it's that it's dynamic, it's unpredictable, and it is coming at us relentlessly fast.
This is what so many of us are living through, the modern data dilemma. We're facing this absolute explosion in the volume of data, the speed at which it hits us, and all the different types. You've got new sources popping up constantly, social media, IoT sensors, you name it. And a lot of that data is unstructured. Trying to force all that into an old, rigid system, it's a nightmare. You end up with these brittle architectures that are impossible to maintain, and they're full of performance gaps and data integrity problems. It's a huge headache.
So, to really appreciate why Data Vault is so different, we have to take a quick look back at where we came from. Let's talk about the two titans, the absolute legends who laid the very foundations of data warehousing, Ralph Kimball and Bill Inman.
And this quote just perfectly nails the fundamental difference in how they saw the world. It really is a classic tale of two completely different philosophies. Do you start with the big, grand, company-wide vision and work your way down, or do you start with specific business needs and build your way up?
And you can see exactly what that means right here. Over on the right, that's Inman's top-down world. You build this one, giant, central enterprise data warehouse first, and then everything else, all the little departmental data marts, flows from that single source of truth. But on the left, that's Kimball's bottom-up approach. He says, nope, let's start by building those smaller, business-focused data marts first, and then we'll combine them.
So here's the crucial takeaway. Kimball's method is pragmatic, it's fast, it's optimized to solve a specific department's problem right now. Inman's method is systematic, it's comprehensive, it's all about ensuring consistency across the entire enterprise. Both approaches are brilliant, and they've powered businesses for decades, but, and it's a big but, both can be pretty rigid when they're faced with constant, rapid change.
And that brings us to the next chapter in our story. That constant state of change is the exact problem that the Data Vault was born to solve. It's a model that was literally built for change.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. In 1990, Inman basically invents the field. In 96, Kimball comes along and popularizes his dimensional model. But then, in the early 2000s, a guy named Dan Lindstedt sees this data explosion coming, and he develops the Data Vault in response. By 2010, Data Vault 2.0 was ready to tackle the world of big data and the cloud.
When you strip it all away, the promise of Data Vault is really about three things. It's about giving you a way to integrate all your data. That is, 1, flexible enough to adapt to new sources without breaking. 2, scalable enough to handle today's ridiculous volumes. And 3, so auditable that you can trace every single piece of data right back to its origin.
Okay, that all sounds fantastic, right? But how does it actually pull it off? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the really clever mechanics that make the Data Vault model work.
So from a 30,000-foot view, the architecture is brilliant in its simplicity. Data comes in and lands in what's called the raw vault. Now this is where the magic really starts. The raw vault is just a faithful, totally unaltered record of the data from the source systems. All the business rules and transformations, that stuff gets applied much later, in the business vault, before it's delivered to users. This separation is the absolute key to everything.
Now for the core building blocks. Honestly, the easiest way to think about them is like grammar. First up, you've got hubs. Hubs are the nouns of your business. They represent the core concepts you talk about all the time: a customer, a product, a store. And they only hold the unique business key for that thing, which makes them incredibly stable.
Next up, you have links. And if hubs are the nouns, well, links are the verbs. They capture the relationships or the transactions between the hubs. So, for example, a purchase would be a link that connects the customer hub to the product hub. It's how your core business concepts actually interact with one another.
And finally, we have satellites. These are the adjectives. Satellites are where you store all the descriptive, contextual, time-sensitive stuff about your hubs and links. A customer's address, a product's price, the quantity in an order, all of that descriptive detail lives in a satellite. And crucially, they track every single change over time, giving you a perfect history.
Now, let's see this in action, because this is where it gets really cool. Here we've got a simple model with a products hub and a categories hub, connected by a link. But look closely at the products hub. See how it has two satellites hanging off of it? One is for the data that comes from source 1, and the other is for data from source 2. It keeps the descriptive details from each source separate.
And this right here is the big payoff. This is the whole point. So what happens when a new data source, let's call it S3, comes along with even more product information? Do you have to redesign everything? Nope. You simply add a new satellite for S3. That's it. The core structure, the hubs, the links, the other satellites remain completely untouched. This is what revolutionary flexibility looks like. It's a total game changer.
And this unique, elegant structure leads to some really significant advantages, especially for any business that's trying to operate in today's fast-paced environment.
So let's just recap the 3 big wins. First, as we just saw, is flexibility. Adding new sources is non-disruptive, it's easy. Second is loading efficiency. Because all the components are separate, you can load your hubs, your links, and your satellites all at the same time in parallel. That is a massive performance boost. And third, auditability. Because you never overwrite data and the satellites track all history, you get a perfect traceable audit trail of all the data all of the time.
So, you've got the established titans and this flexible newcomer. How do you decide which approach is right for you? Well, it all comes down to choosing the right tool for the job.
And this table is a fantastic guide. Look, if your business environment is stable, predictable, and you're not adding new data sources all the time, then the traditional models from Kimball and Inman are excellent, battle-tested choices. But if your world is constantly evolving, if you're adding new data all the time, and you need massive scalability and perfect auditability, then Data Vault was purpose-built for that exact challenge. It's less about a single version of the truth and more about creating a single version of the facts. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a business world that's now defined by constant, accelerating change, is building a data foundation that's actually designed for that change? Is that still just a strategic choice? Or has it become an absolute necessity? I'll let you decide. Thanks for watching.